Today on DockSide TV, we're going to leave the speckled trout redfish alone and chase the beloved green trout. Stay tuned for this episode of DockSide TV. People think about this style of fishing and the matrix shad itself. A lot of people just tend to think that this is a saltwater bait, as Brandon has one right here. Sounds like a pretty decent fish. Come on in. A lot of people think this is a saltwater lure, but in all reality, it's a 3-inch swim bait. It's a paddle tail swim bait. That comes from the bass world. And this whole technique with the trolling motor and covering water, the way that we fish all the time, it's just bass techniques that we bring into the saltwater world. So in all reality, this lure is made for bass fishing. It just so happens to be very effective whenever we're fishing the saltwater species. As you can see, easy double up right here. Bass. Whenever we're fishing bass out here, I'm not the biggest fan of your typical bass fishing where you gotta make a lot of casts. Go ahead and let this one go for just a handful of bites. But in the Louisiana marsh, especially when we get into the winter, you can catch bass every cast, which is basically what it's like right now, and you'll bump into an occasional redfish or speckled trout to catch multiple species. But you know, a bite here and a bite there is what most people think of bass fishing. Yes, it can be pretty boring, but this kind of bass fishing, where it's bite after bite after bite, it's pretty exciting and fun. And this has been the most consistent and easiest thing this whole winter so far in our estuary. See if we can get another one. What you want to do is find deep, curvy bayous. Right here, when I say deep, this is probably 8 foot in its deepest part. And what's going to happen in the bends, it's going to be a little bit deeper. So in the real cold days, you're going to find that the bass are going to be hemmed up in the hard turns. On the warmer days, you can do different things. You can run a spinnerbait. There we go. You can run a spinnerbait down the grass edge. You can probably even get away with throwing a topwater, but right now it's pretty chilly. As I hold this fish right now, I can feel how cold he is. So we're starting off with the jig. They're eating it up. We're not gonna change, but as the day progresses and the water temperatures get up, right now it's about 58-degree water. If it got to 62, 63 today, you probably could get away with throwing a spinnerbait. We may try that later. All right, this is what we call the sweet spot right here, typically. When you have a 3-way or a 4-way, we got 3 bayous interjecting right here. And typically when you find this in good moving water, you can find the small reds ganged up, maybe the trout. In this instance, it seems like we're on the bass pretty good, so I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that is a bass, and it's a pretty decent one. Oh, and I missed it. Let's see if we can get another one. But anyway, we're at 3. Where you get multiple bayous connecting together, you're going to get a little bit better current. Just a change in the bayou rather than just being straight and whatnot. Brandon's got a nice one here. any kind of change is the key. As I missed one, my pants down there. Throw back in this three-way. And this goes for all over the place, you know, Delacroix, Venice, areas down in Homa. Anywhere you got an abundance of fresh water and salt water, you can get away with fishing multiple species. And today we decided to do the bass thing. And that's what makes Louisiana marsh so great, is you can target speckled trout one day, redfish another day, and you can do even bass. That's either a big bass or a rat red. That's a nice bass. Nice bass. That's what makes this place so great, is that we're fishing literally just a mile or two away from where we typically chase speckled trout or redfish. But now we're catching bass. There he is. Decent fish. There's another one. Like I said, the three ways. You find a three-way. If you're catching a bass every 2 or 3, 4 minutes, or just a straightaway, you can bet your bottom dollar that when you hit a three-way or an intersection, they're going to be ganged up like bees. Go ahead and let this one go. And a lot of people release bass, and we release a lot of them too. But when you're catching them this fast, obviously there's not a problem with the population. And we definitely release the bigger ones because it's the size, that size. We're going to keep that one. That's the ones that are great to eat, man. They fry just as well as speckled trout. I mean, these suckers are in here. I mean, does it get any better? Never cutting the camera off. Bass after bass after bass. It's like catching speckled trout. Just throw them on the floor. We only need a couple more for our limit. The limit down here where we're at off the Wrigley's is 10 per person. There is no size limit, but we recommend it being 10 to 12 inches is a good frying size for the pan. All right, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, we had some drought years and multiple hurricanes hitting our area, and it really wiped the bass population out of the marsh pretty hard, but it excelled the speckled trout population in the Pontchartrain estuary, especially the big trout. But here the last few years, they obviously closed the Mr. Go. That's gonna make it to where the salt is not as abundant in Lake Pontchartrain, and we've had some really rainy years with the Pearl River being very flooded multiple years in a row. Now, I would say that's hurt the speckled trout estuary a good bit, and especially in the summertime, but it has really made the bass fishing excel. So that's what makes the Matrix Shad so great, is it's versatile enough to catch multiple species of fish. So we're just happy of whatever species takes over the estuary, and it goes in patterns and cycles. Some years it's going to be real salty, some years it's going to be real fresh. Whether it's bass, speckled trout, redfish, flounder, it doesn't matter, because the Matrix Shad catches it all. Alright, the day has warmed up a little bit, and the bites on the jig started slowing up just a hair. So we switched over to, we clipped on a little number 3 spinner blade on there, and now we're just burning it right over the grass, right next to the grass. Brandon's got a little finesse blade that he screwed into there, and now we're starting to catch them again. So first thing this morning, the water temperature was pretty cold. We were jigging the turns and the 3 ways. Now we're throwing a little spinner and still wiping them out. There's a lot of different things you can do with these finesse blades. We've started off Had it in the belly there, wasn't really working too well. I'm gonna bite the tail off of the matrix shad, and then I'm gonna screw this in to the tail, turning this into like an inline spinner. That's the cool thing about these little finesse blades is you can put this spinner wherever you want, whatever you have confidence in. Now, as Brandon reels that in, it's just going to be an inline spinner. See if that works. Better fish there, and I had a feeling that would be the case. That's that rig, Brandon, we just showed you, where we cut off the matrix tail and screwed in the finesse blade into that shrimp creole. And take a look at it in the water. Show it to them in the water, Brandon. Basically what it does is it turns it into an inline spinner. Now that the fish are, you know, coming up and being a little bit more aggressive and not in the deeper parts, and we're fishing the shallower parts, as it gets a little warmer, these spinner style baits, very effective. Finesse blades and clip-on spinners. See if we can get some more. Another one on the little, it's the Louisiana people call it a beetle spin. It's a 5/16 ounce matrix shad. I'm sorry, bullseye jig head on a shrimp creole. Brandon, you got one? Missed it? We're using a silver blade, number 3, made by H&H. We sell all these products at matrixshad.com, and we are wearing these bass out. Let's go ahead and let this one go. Well, we're gonna go ahead and close it up as we're almost done here. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of DockSide TV. Catching frying size bass on the shrimp creole matrix shad, 5/16 ounce bullseye jig head. Go ahead and let this one go as he's a little bit smaller. And for all the other episodes, go to matrixshad.com. We'll go ahead and end. This will be the last one of the video. And until next time, good fishing. Make sure to stay up to date with all of our DockSide TV episodes. Simply hit the subscribe button right here on your YouTube channel. Stay up to date with all of the action going on around the surrounding areas as we catch multiple species of fish, from trout to bass to redfish, flounder, and even crappie. Make sure to hit the post notification button also, which will allow you to know when our next and freshest DockSide TV episodes are uploaded.